It's quiet. It's like we're in church.
Right.
Saying live now, Brian.
Yep, we're now live.
Yeah, we're live.
We are?
Yep.
We're all ready to go there. Okay, good evening, everyone. I guess depending where you are in the world, we'll be on YouTube. And I'd like to welcome the Journal Pioneer today to our council meeting and our committee meetings. Our committee meetings. We have all members of council are present, and we have staff members. We have Greg Goody, our electrical engineer and also director of municipal services. We have Linda Stevenson from Tech Services. We have Aaron McDonald, the director from Tech Services. And we have our CAO, Rob Philpott. And we have Kristen Dunsford from our acting director of finance, as well as Gordon McFarland, our in-house lawyer, our director of human resources, and our deputy CAO. So I think we've gotten pretty well around the hoop, and all members of council, I see their names are on the screen. So we'll start the meetings, and the first one on the agenda is Councillor Brian McFeely. The floor is yours, sir, with some planning board comments.
Thank you, Your Worship. And the agenda for planning board was circulated. We'll ask for a motion for approval of the agenda, the April 7th agenda. I have a motion moved by Barb, second by Gary, that the agenda for our meeting today be approved as circulated. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Contrary? Motion carried. So our really one and only item on the agenda is a recommendation on the mobile sales establishment by application from Corey Arsenault. I think it's fairly straightforward. Just in terms of process that we reviewed, I'll read into the record the recommendation, and then we will call for the motion, and then for mover and seconder. And then if council has any comments, if they can indicate that they'd like to speak just by pressing on one of those reaction buttons, either the thumbs up or the clap, and then we can kind of control just having one person speaking at a time instead of all of us. That would be helpful. So we'll move right into the recommendation. Mobile sales establishment application from Corey Arsenault. The supporting explanation, the purpose of the application is to allow a mobile sales establishment, Big Guy Bacon and Fry Company, to operate at 476 Central Street from April to October, weather permitting. Mr. Arsenault's proposed hours of operation are 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Mondays through Sunday. Background: this is Mr. Arsenault's first year applying for a mobile sales establishment license, although he has operated his business for several years at special events. Mr. Arsenault owns and operates Stretch Fitness on Central Street. The location being proposed is the Stretch Fitness property located at 476 Central Street. And the map is of 476 Central is located in the document. Mobile sales establishment means a business located in a motorized vehicle or movable structure that is towed or moved by a motorized vehicle, and where all goods, wares, and foodstuff that are offered for sale are contained entirely within the motorized vehicle or movable structure, but does not include a lunch truck. And the report under section 3, City of Summerside licensing bylaw SS-05, the bylaw states the following. Item number 13, mobile sales establishment license. A, any person or company seeking a license to operate a mobile sales establishment in the city shall make application therefore to council. B, licenses may be granted for a mobile sales establishment to conduct business on a maximum of 2 locations in the city, and each application shall be accompanied by a letter of permission from the owner of the property on which the mobile sales establishment will be located. C, council shall allow or refuse the application based upon consideration of safety, desirability, impact on established business, convenience, and such other considerations as it deems appropriate. Council may attach terms the approval of the license, if granted, included but not limited to 1, hours and days of operation, 2, health code requirements, 3, litter control, 4, approved locations. E, the license for a mobile sales establishment shall be valid for the calendar year in which the application is made only. A new application is required to council for each calendar year. F, no appeal shall lie from a decision of council respecting to a mobile sales establishment license. Staff comment. Mr. Arsenault owns the property, therefore written permission will not be required. So the recommendation from technical services staff, approve the mobile sales establishment to the applicant, Corey Arsenault, to operate the Big Guy Bacon and Fry Company at 476 Central Street, property owned by the applicant. As per section 5, subsection 10B3 of the zoning bylaw, the planning board shall make a recommendation to council on this application before it is approved or denied. The planning board recommendation, whether carried or defeated, will be brought forward for council for a final decision. The planning board recommendation would be that this bears the recommendation of the planning board. So I would seek a mover and a seconder from planning board for that. Barb, second by Carrie.
Just a couple of questions, Brian, Councilor McFeely, whenever you get to that area.
So we will open the floor. The motion now is moved and seconded. So we will open the floor to any questions that council may have.
Just a couple, and I'm wondering, and maybe I should know that, but I'm wondering what is the annual license fee amount in dollars? Was that mentioned? And I don't think it was mentioned.
Linda?
The fee is $500 for local license if they live within the city of Summerside.
Okay. And also that there's one clause there that I might have asked the question on before one time about no appeal. No appeal from whom would that be?
Would be from the applicant, Linda?
Would that be a hard one to enforce? That clause doesn't really excite me too much, but if it can be enforced, I guess it can be enforced, but you don't very often hear that in any situations where something can't be appealed. Maybe Gordon might want to throw his legal thoughts on that.
Under our bylaw, council has the final say on this. It's not appealable to IRAC or anywhere else. So that's by the applicant or by any other member of the public.
When you say anywhere else, what about the courts? If somebody wants to appeal it to the court, how can our bylaw stop that?
I guess somebody could try if they wanted, but they wouldn't have a whole lot of success as long as we were following our own rules.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. For Councillor McFeely, I mean, that's all I have. I'm ready to vote on it.
I just had a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so in regard to the entrance, is that the same entrance at the gym? There's not a further entrance down towards Walker that they're going to be using?
Linda?
Not to my knowledge, Carrie.
Okay, I was just wondering because I just thought it might cause an issue with Walker there, but if it's just the same one as the gym, no problem. Thanks.
Any other questions? Bruce, you have a question?
Hi. Yeah, the only question I have is, it's going to be on the same lot as Stretch Fitness?
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
And I guess lots of us can go by there, and that parking lot is chock full at the most of the times. What's going to happen there now if we're going to put a trailer or a couple of trailers in there? I'm not against it. I'm just raising a concern that how big is that lot and where is it going to be put on the lot?
There's also a full parking lot at the rear of his building.
Okay, fine. I didn't know that. Thank you.
Barb?
Thank you, Brian. I remember a few years ago, there was a food truck in there connected to the building beside Stretch Fitness. And it seemed to work pretty well. Does anybody recall that?
The one at the butcher shop.
Yeah, it sat inside the butcher shop there, right next door to the, didn't it? Just, I hear what you're saying, Bruce, but that one seemed to go pretty well. So anyway.
Councillor Snow?
I'm curious, more so of a question for possibly this one or any other ones that might come down the line. It says proposed hours of operation 11 to 7. If the applicant's doing well and notices he wants to stay open until 9, who enforces that? How do we enforce it? What's the process of switching proposed hours of operation for anything like this?
I think if he wanted to switch hours, he would have to come back to council for approval.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, we will call for the question. When would this go to council?
Monthly.
It would be this evening. There's a special
Oh,
council
the
meeting.
special council meeting. Yes, that's correct. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. So the motion's on the floor. It's been duly moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Right.
Contrary. Carried. And that wraps up planning board, your worship.
Thank you, Councillor McFeely. Okay, we will continue on. Electrical services. We'll turn the floor over to Greg Goody. You're going to speak on that, or the chair of electric? The floor is yours. Is it for Greg? We got two Gregs here. Greg is the chair and council. Greg Campbell, and Greg Goody is the electrical engineer. Which Greg is going first? Who's on first? Are we all mute or what?
There, I'm up and going now.
There you go.
I have a recommendation. Do you want to do that now?
May as well.
And date April 7th, 2020. Electrical Committee, Summerside Sunbank System Study, RFP. I guess that's what we might as well read that now.
Sure.
Supporting explanation, the city of Summerside has started the process of getting the project called Summerside Sunbank underway with the detailed design components necessary for development. Sunbank is a corporate structure that will oversee and manage all aspects of the new solar farm and battery storage project with Samsung. One of the details that needs to be worked out is how exactly the project should be connected to the city's electrical utility to provide energy with the system. This is to be addressed by the way of a system impact study. The RFP for the system impact study was issued on February 20th, 2020 and closed on March 13th, 2020. 7 companies submitted bids, which were evaluated and ranked based on 6 criteria. Demonstrated experience of firm with both battery and solar experiences along with interconnected studies. The experience of the individuals in relevance to the demonstrated experience, the stated project objectives of each proposal, schedule and monitoring submission through the process and final pricing. From this evaluation, there were 2 companies shortlisted and then phone interview to determine their understanding of the scope of the work. The lowest proposal was not accepted based on above criteria. Power Tech Labs Inc. had the highest score based on their evaluation. The submitted costs were as follows. Power Tech Labs, Surrey, BC, $64,000. Test Mount, Winnipeg, Manitoba, $76,500. WSP from Montreal, Quebec, $60,200. Stan Tech from Edmonton, Alberta, $69,000. CBCL, Halifax, Nova Scotia, $79,000. BBA was from Mount Saint Hilaire in Quebec for $49,500. and Snyder from rural Malamason, France, $360,931. Advantages: to understand the necessary configuration of the grid connection and required equipment of the Summerside Scotiabank solar and battery project, such that the city's electrical grid will continue to maintain reliability and security of the electrical system, along with its connection with the Prince Edward Island transmission system. Cost financial impact: Scotiabank's Summerside Sunbank, account number 18770-60-640, approved in our budget $65,800,015.22. A cost for this recommendation only is $64,000. It should be noted that the full budget of the project is $65,800,000, which is funded as follows: federal government, $26,320,000, provincial government, $21,931,000, and the city of Summerside, $17,548,868.22. Currently committed monies to date for this project account will become $127,402, including the above. Details are: climate lens work for ICIP application was $49,575. Environmental screening report was $13,827. And the system impact study is $64,000. Recommendation: whereas a request for a proposal was issued for a Summerside Sunbank system impact study, and the following proposals were received. And I've read them off already. I'll go over them again. The firm Power Tech Labs, $64,000. Test Mount, $76,500. WSP, $60,200. Stantec, $69,000. CBCL, $79,000. BBA, $49,500. And Schreiner, $360,931. Staff recommends awarding the request for proposal for the Summerside Sunbank System Impact Study to Power Tech Labs for $64,000, taxes included. That is the recommendation, Your Worship.
Thank you, Greg, Councillor Campbell. Could I just ask the question? Maybe Greg Goody would answer it, or yourself. WSP, I thought they had a Summerside office, but their bid came in from another province.
Yeah.
Yes, they do. The relevant persons working on the file are all mainly from the head office. A lot of these expertise come from engineers that are outside the province. That's a really specialty expertise on the project. Even though the office is located locally, a lot of the work is done by the head office or in remote locations around the world.
Yeah, thank you. But I'm surprised they didn't put their bid in from the Summerside office. But anyway, they didn't. So yeah, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
I could probably go right to the resolution now, can I, or is that for the meeting later?
That'll be for the special council meeting.
Okay.
Are we opening it up for questions now, or are we waiting? We good for questions?
Yeah, open for questions.
I'm curious as to just the thoughts of, we have some coming in at 360,000 and then some as low as 49.5. Just maybe a little bit of an explanation how we figure out that Power Tech Labs ranked #1 overall as opposed to the others. So people watching are going to look and say, how come we didn't go with 49.5 and save $20 million or thereabouts? Do you know what? So just maybe an explanation as to how we reach that ranking. And
I think you meant 20. I think you meant $20,000.
Yeah, 20. Sorry, 20,000. Yeah, sorry.
We are talking in millions, so on this project.
We are. Yeah, exactly. No, yeah.
I can answer that one a bit on the criteria used. So once we get into a discussion of the proposals are submitted to the evaluation team. So there was 2 parties set up to evaluate them separately on the 6 criteria noted in the report or supporting explanation. So one of the very first things we look at is to get a quality, they're all good quality firms. I wouldn't want to say that they couldn't do the work, but the demonstrated experience of the firm of what they've done in the past for other particular installations and facilities has a fairly big bearing on ranking. And then what we look at is also taking a look at the team they developed to do the study in the organization and whether or not those particular individuals actually worked on the demonstrated experience of the firm. So we're really looking for a correlation of the people they represent to do the work actually have some experience in solar and battery projects, along with interconnecting with transmission systems for electric utilities. So we put that all together, and then we rank them on that experience based on their project experience and the individuals that they put together for the team in their proposal. Then the next step is to go in and start looking at the project objectives for each proposal. So each submitted company will list exactly what they're going to look at and study for considerations on how to connect such an important project to our electrical grid for the city of Summerside and Summerside Electric. So those are the other studies. And some proposers would have a list of doing 10 different scenarios for different things that can happen on an electrical system. Some might have only had 6 proposed studies to do. So that's the other piece, is the amount of depth of work they're going to do in their proposal for their costing. Finally, what we look at is then the scheduling and monitoring of how they're going to make sure they keep on budget for what they say they're going to do the work for. And then finally, we look at the pricing. So then once we do all that, we rank each spot on a connected point score, and we basically rank them from 1 through 7 based on their overall scores. And I think the total scores are like 180 points. And then we just basically rank them 1 through 7 after that. Then we take the top 2, usually 2 to 3. This time we chose 2 that had the best project objectives in their proposal for studies. And then we did a phone interview that lasted about a half hour with each firm and made sure they understood the objectives of what we're trying to do, and also asked them for clarifying points on their proposal. So that's basically how we got to the ranking. And then once we arrived at the ranking and both parties agreed to the rankings on who should be awarded the work, then that's how we came up with the Power Tech Labs recommendation. The city of Summerside does use this RFP process of scoring criteria in usually all of its requests for proposals with firms when they're looking to do work. It's been something that's developed by the Department of Finance that we use as a structure to try to sort through all the proposals to come to the best quality firm for the application of what's being asked to be done.
Any more questions?
The reason why I asked that, I know as we in the past went through RFP procedures and we ended up with low bidders, or there was a lot of talk around making sure we either had to take the lowest bid because of whatever reason. So I just want to make sure that we got all our T's crossed, I's dotted, to make sure that whoever's not going to come back and say, hey, I was at 49,000, so-and-so was at 64, how come we didn't get it? So that I guess that's the reasoning behind it. Thank you.
Just comment on that, Councillor Snow. We do allow a question and answer for firms to come to the staff to ask for how they scored on their evaluation criteria and what they could do better for the next application or something like that. We do allow that back and forth with any firms, just to give them clarity.
I think, Gordon, you're going to speak to that, because I think there's a significant difference between RFPs and tenders.
Yes, correct.
In terms of the exposure that we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And this was a request for proposals.
So that just gives us more leeway when we're selecting the.
Right. You normally use a tender when you're buying a good that is very specifically defined. There's not a lot of gray area. And then that's why price is usually the main criteria. With a request for proposal, just like Greg said, there's going to be different companies with different levels of expertise and different and even different ways of doing it, as you said, different amounts of studying. So with an RFP, there's a lot more subjectivity that can go into the scoring matrix.
Just to clarify that too, though, to make sure we're as unbiased and fair as we can to the firms that submit proposals, because it does take work to submit the proposals into the city. You want to try to create a fair criteria that's well spelled out so that each firm understands what their scoring criteria is before they start. So they have a pretty good idea of the process. It's not a new one for firms. It's been around for quite a while.
Anybody else?
I had one, Greg. Just wondering if there is an obvious reason for why, I guess, Schneider had such a large amount. Was that something that maybe they misunderstood being, or just because they're out of country basically, and that has to do with international?
No, they were basically in their proposal, they were going to take and come to site and do a full buildup of our whole system, which is good, very particular, exacting work, but I don't think it was necessary for this application because we already had all the information to provide people to give. So they were going to spend a lot of time building the electrical grid system for the city of Summerside to do the modeling on for different scenarios. So that's where a lot of their cost came from.
Okay.
Which we believe we didn't need as a utility.
Great, thanks.
Can I just ask one final question, Mr. Chairman Campbell? I'm just wondering, for Greg Goody again, the WSP office in Summerside, would they have known that this bid was coming in from their, is it Winnipeg office, or where are they stationed?
Well, the bid came in through, they did list one of the principal or senior engineers as the project team lead for their project proposal. However,
from Summerside,
all the experience was coming out of other areas, and the principal in charge of the project was purely project management expertise, more so than any electrical expertise.
Yeah,
they didn't have that locally.
They listed somebody from where?
Montreal.
SB Summerside.
Okay, thank you.
One team member out of 6.
Well, okay, that's fine. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else? That's it for that portion. I lost our deputy mayor. She's my co-chair. She's left us somewhere.
She's there. She just, I think her camera's pointing the other way there. Yeah. Norma?
I can hear you. Hi.
There you go.
I just want to adjourn our committee meeting, that's all. You second that, Norma?
Yes, I'll second it.
Okay. Okay, that's it, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Campbell and the Electrical Committee and staff. Okay, that's all we have, I believe, to be dealt with in the electrical and the planning board. So now we have a special council meeting to call to order. Okay, and we have a couple of resolutions for item number 3, mobile establishment. I believe that would be, and as well as the second one that Councillor Campbell just read. So the first one might be from Councillor McFeely. Resolution for the mobile.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, we have resolution COS 20-036, April 7th, 2020, moved by, I'll ask one of my, moved by Councillor Ramsey, seconded by Councillor Adams. Whereas Corey Arsenault is requesting council approval in accordance with section 13 of the licensing bylaw SS-05 to operate a mobile sales establishment at 476 Central Street, property owned by the applicant. Whereas section 13 of the licensing bylaw provides that council shall allow or refuse an application based on the following considerations: safety, desirability, impact on established businesses in the city, public convenience, and other such other considerations as deemed appropriate. Be it resolved that council grant approval to Corey Arsenal to operate a mobile sales establishment at 476 Central Street. The license is subject to paying a license fee of $500 for a non-local business as per licensing bylaw SS-05 regulations. Special events require written approval of the event organizers submitted to the city 3 days in advance. A food health permit is approved by the province. Litter disposal containers are provided on site, and the hours of operations are 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. This bears the recommendation of Planning Board meeting on April 7th, 2020, Your Worship.
Thank you. So it's moved by Councillor McFeely and seconded by whom again? Councillor Adams. All heard the resolution. Any questions on the resolution? All in favor, say aye.
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 Contrary, nay. Motion carried unanimously. And I believe, Councillor Campbell, you have one now?
I have a resolution, Your Worship, resolution COS 20-037, moved by myself, Councillor Campbell, seconded by Deputy Mayor, Councillor McColman. Whereas a request for proposals were called for the City of Summerside, Summerside Sunbank System Impact Study, and whereas the City of Summerside received 7 requests for proposals, which were as follows. Power Tech Labs Inc., 64,000. Evaluation ranking was number 1. Test Mount, 76,500. Evaluation ranking number 2. WSP, 60,200. Evaluation ranking number 3. Stantec, 69,000. Evaluation ranking 4. CBCL, 79,000. Evaluation ranking 5. BBA, $49,500, and the evaluation ranking was 6. And Snyder was $360,931, evaluation ranking 7. Be it resolved that the City of Summerside awards the City of Summerside request for proposal, Summerside Sunbank Systems Impact Study, to Power Tech Labs Inc. for the price of $64,000, excluding taxes. This bears a recommendation of the Electoral Committee meeting of April 7th, 2020.
Thank you, by Councillor Campbell and seconded by Deputy Mayor McColman. Any questions on the resolution? All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carried unanimously. Thank you, Councillor Campbell.
Welcome.
Okay, we'll continue on. I believe there's a couple items on there for the committee of the whole. I believe we've gotten to the end of the agenda for this portion. Any final comments by anybody? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Councillor McFeely and seconded by Councillor Snow. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay, carried. Thank you very much, everyone.